All right. So we don't need any equipment today. You're just going to be using positions that we are in to stretch a little bit of everything that might be common complaints you're doing Murph. Even some of the modified Murph transitions and things that we changed because of not having gyms will still tend to hit some of the same body parts as far as traps, mid traps, pecs are going to be a little sore. Shoulders, depending on whether you wore a weight vest or not. So we're going to stretch through the neck a little. If you were doing bent over rows, you actually might feel your neck more, especially in the front, than you realize. And then we also did push-ups, which people end up feeling their neck and traps a lot. So we're going to hit those first. We'll transition down into just kind of flowing through a movement of kind of a cat-cow comboed with a prone press-up. That's just moving through the whole pattern. That might feel really nice for you guys just to get all those things moving. We'll finish with kind of a dragon / lizard, if people want that, if they know what those mean, but it'll be for hip flexor. And then per request, just a calf kind of soleus stretch, just to make sure that we're spending time doing something with that position. So here we go. Let's start with, also Angie's not on this, so if you guys are watching this later, I think she'd set up a recording view to record gallery style, but since she's not on it this time, I'm going to assume that you might only be able to see just me, which is fine. So I'll do all this stuff with you today and keep moving through instead of where I stop and watch the others. Most of these are ones they've done, so I should be able to see it. And then I'll ask Angie if it still showed up as a gallery recording after the fact. And if it did, that meant that her settings she sets stays good through the whole thing. And I'll be able to utilize other class members for future mobility if there's tough positions that people are good for pointing out. So here we go. Let's go ahead and start with the neck and stuff. I'm going to move actually over this way a little so that I'm in the middle of not light behind me. Danielle and Amy, since you guys are on here, can you see kind of my head well enough without the light behind me and everything? Is it easy enough?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Just make sure. So we're going to start with 3 different ways of stretching your traps. What you're going to do is you're going to use your other hand whenever we're stretching them. Just give feedback and pulling down, or if nothing else, just resting on the shoulder of the opposing side so that the shoulder doesn't come up, letting you cheat the stretch. Okay, instead of trying to go further, if the shoulder has to come up, just don't go as far and cheat with the shoulder. I'd rather have it come from the neck. So we're not going to pull really hard on our neck, but we are going to make sure that as we do it, we're keeping everything kind of like cued in place. So we're going to pull down kind of on our shoulder, kind of through this, and you're going to take your head going to the side. If you need to and want to add a little bit of overpressure, making sure that you kind of keep that shoulder down, go ahead and reach it across so that you're trying to tuck and add a little bit of overpressure. But instead of pulling, what I would say you might want to do is add overpressure and match that resistance. So what that means is I stretch. So again, I like doing it this way where I keep this side down and I get a stretch from it, and I just go where my head end range is and is comfortable. Someone that like you only get to here and you really feel like you need that stretch, then what I would say is use the other hand, reach across so that you're having to still kind of aim for having your arm down, and then use the hand to pull, but instead of pulling, right, match the resistance with your head and hand. So I'm actually activating these muscles. I'm pushing back into my hand with my head. And what it's doing is it's activating that muscle. So you can do it again, either passively, let it hang, which might feel nice, or your traps just might be so tight you can't let it relax in this position. And in that case, you can add some resistance and push back into your hand to get a little bit of an active stretch. And it might feel kind of funky, but what I don't want is a big, long over pulling on the neck. Go ahead and relax, carry it up to center. Okay, we're gonna switch, put the other hand on that side here to keep that side down and passively lean away. So I even sometimes push my shoulder down to get a little stretch on kind of these scaling muscles, right? And again, if you want to, give this arm something to do and reach across just so that it stays down. I'm not pulling on this side, I'm just reaching it down. And then I'm pulling and then pushing back with my head a little bit to activate that muscle. we're using that activation to then try and kind of force that muscle to then relax after the fact, to heat it up, to contract while it's under some stretch. Will help it stretch further and safer than if I'm just passively pulling it past the point of stretch. Again, the other option here, keep going with it if you want, ladies, it's on film, is pushing down and just letting it lean away. Come back to center. So that's side to side. We're gonna do it at a bit of an angle this time. So now you're gonna go, and in this one again, if you want to take your hand and push from behind or pull, but then you're going to resist a little bit. Other option is to just let it fall in that position. And you can do a little bit of turn, right? Sometimes I'll let it fall and then I retract my chin back because it stretches the backside. Some people, again, you might want to push it a little bit and then twist back a little. What that does is it turns on some of those muscles to get some heat going and to stretch it more locally instead of just overstretching it past the point of where it's comfortable. And then I'll relax and see if it falls a little further. And go ahead and go back up, move it around how you need, and then go to the other side. So this one, again, these are at angles. It's like we're trying to look down at our pocket, our front pocket. We'll go down. You can let it passively hang down like this. I'll also think about like dropping my shoulders. I make sure that I don't round forward, right? I think about having good posture. I can feel the stretch for me across like my clavicle. Everybody's a little different. I'll move it a little bit in that angle. And sometimes I'll even kind of like almost tuck my chin back, like I'm trying to give myself a double chin while it's bent, because it'll stretch the back side. And then the other option is, again, I take one hand, pull it a little bit into that position, and then I resist. Just so that we're not overstretching. And in activating those muscles, we get the opposite side to relax. And then I let it go a little bit, and I see where it falls. And come back up to center. Okay, last one that I like to do for trap and neck and scapula stuff that goes down in the chest is something similar that I give to, it's not similar, it is what I give to people that are like sitting at desks all day. If you have a chair, you can reach underneath the chair and you can pull down and back. Some people, if they're sitting down like this, they might use like underneath their hips, because I'm sitting on my knees right now. So up to you. Other option is you just mentally think about tucking your scapula, so your shoulder blades, back into your back pocket. So if my shoulders are here normally, I think about kind of bringing them back. I'm not pinching them. I'm not creating a pinch in back like this. I'm bringing them back while my shoulders stay at a normal level, and then I'm pressing them. So I'm thinking about dropping them down, much space between the corner of my shoulder and my ear, right? So it's down a little bit and back, right? I'm not squeezing, I'm not pinching. Some people might pull their arms down underneath something, right? But you're thinking about back and down. And then as I do that, I'll play around with rolling my chin down to my chest, and then I'll do a chin tuck back. It's a really good look. I'll show you from the side for this one so you can see what it looks like. So again, I think about shoulders back and then depressed down. So some people, even if they kind of roll and then drop, that's their easiest way to find that position. You can pull down and in a little bit with your upper body to act flats if you need. And then from there with my head, I'll go back and forth with tucking chin down to chest and then tucking it back, kind of like trying to give myself a double chin. And then I'll go back and look up at the sky. And then I'll tuck it again. Again, if any of these positions hurt you, stop doing them. You might have something else going on and talk to someone. But if they feel like a stretch, you're not forcing it, then go for it. And then I'll recheck that my shoulders are set down and back. One more time, let's go chin to chest. And then really cute double chin. And then extend. Good. So that's just a little bit for hitting neck, some traps, depending on what's tight on you. Again, if I had done the Murph stuff yesterday with a weight vest like I have in past years, my traps hurt more than anything else. And I feel like my neck is like this. And so that would have been hugely helpful for me. So I threw it in today. those of us that sit at a desk all day, hopefully that was also helpful for you. Okay, the next part that we're gonna do is we're gonna do some chest stretching. So we're gonna do my favorite one that I've had you guys do before, where it's just like scorpion style and it's a good standard. And we're gonna throw it in today because it's easy and it's making you spend time doing it. So I'm laying down, giving my knees a bit of a break. Arm is out to the side. And then I'm just gonna push this other arm to push here. If you can, bring the leg up. Some people can bring it all the way down. My pecs are really tight today. Normally I can bring that foot to touch the ground, but right now my pecs weren't feeling too sore. We're talking about Danielle, but I can't get there today. So they apparently still are tight, even though they're not as sore as I thought they'd be. So be gentle, be nice to them. We're gonna hang. Normally I have you guys kind of switch off and back and forth. Today we're gonna hang a little bit just because they did a lot of work yesterday. So we're gonna spend some time on the one side and then go ahead, breathe into it. If you need to change the angle of your arm so that you're not completely overstretching it, do it. If you need to keep your foot back forward and just use the arm on this side to just push yourself up and deepen it, that's fine too. I'm relaxing my neck. But as you lay here, you might find like now, I'm actually able to bring my foot all the way around. It took a second. I had to really let myself sink into that pec. So as you're laying here, try to deepen it a little bit as you can, as it allows you to. You might even in here a bit, maybe you squeeze your butt on that top side so that you get a little hip flexor stretch, depending on who you are. I know for me it's, but add a little something to that lower half too. And then let's carefully come out of it. Oh, roll back to center. Bring that other arm in. Take a look that you guys can still see. So those of you guys that are not watching the video but are in it right now, go ahead and switch sides if you can hear me. Good, I see both of you moving. So other side, put it down, head down, arm, assists. If you want to just start with that, that's fine. If you can, you're gonna take that leg over. Depends on what you're feeling. This side isn't as sore for me. Definitely not quite as tight. But I'm feeling it still more than I realized. Let's hang out here. Go ahead and do whatever you can to deepen that stretch for the last little bit. So that might be squeezing that upper leg and glute to kind of stretch the hip. That might be that you just roll further, try to flatten that foot to the ground. You might bring the arm up a little bit to make it a bigger angle. Carefully come out of it into the center again. And then while you're here, we can go up into our prone press up. We're gonna hang here for just a second. We are gonna turn this into a bit more of a flow. I'm gonna turn sideways for you guys a little bit. So you're hanging here. Think about wiggling your glutes, wiggling your low back, wiggling your shoulders, letting yourself kind of fall into comfort. Let your glutes relax, let your hamstrings relax, let your feet lay flat so your toes aren't sitting there clenched. Really think about breathing into this. As you breathe, especially if you're someone who maybe did all the sit-ups instead of doing some of the pulls that I saw on there, and your abs hardcore, okay, you might be someone that it's more comfortable for you to put your arms further out after everything yesterday on your wrists. You might be more comfortable here, or if your traps are bugging you, this will help not to shrug as much, and that's fine. That might be enough for you, but hang here for just a little bit longer. We're gonna do a couple of different positions flowing through this guy, a version of this with some cat-cow. But we're gonna roll all the way up the pelvis, the thoracics to neck in our cat-cow stuff. So go ahead and relax it down. Now that you did that, we're gonna come up on all fours. You can be a little bit expanded out. You don't have to be like perfectly stacked. It gets a little bit more of a stretch for you. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start out rolling like we're rolling one foot at a time, tucking our tail between our legs, right? So I'm tucking through, and then I'm gonna roll up the spine, weight myself into my shoulders and head. And then I'm gonna take my head up, drop through the shoulders, drop through the low spine, and then drop the hips. So this is that kind of flowing through kind of the press up and a cat-cow position. If you can't get all the way down to this position because of the wrists or holding up at the top, that's fine. Just end here and head up, that's fine. But if you want to, give it a full sink through all the way to here. And then again, go back up to that kind of quadruped, tuck tail between the legs, starting at the pelvis, rolling it up your spine, tucking your chin, and then back up, sinking through the shoulders, sinking all the way down to the hips, and then dropping the hips. We're gonna do this 5 more times. And there is no right or wrong on this one. Just try to feel it in every joint by joint movement that you do. So starting low, tucking the tail between the legs, rolling up the spine. Everyone's got different mobility. Mine's gonna look different than where someone else's hinge point is. Head up now, sink through the shoulders, sink through that pelvic tilt, and then maybe you drop the whole thing. We're just playing around with moving your spine a bit, moving your pelvis. So I'm gonna come back up for another one. I'm gonna tuck under. I'm gonna tuck all the way up and through the shoulder. Then I'm gonna tuck my head up, sink down, different pelvic tilt, and sink all the way through. Everybody's a little bit different. Some of you might even find that it works better for you to start rolling from the top and then rolling back, and that's fine. Whatever works for you. I'm gonna tuck that pelvis again, all the way up. This is just for you to play. Play around with it. You follow me, that's fine. You do your own thing based on what I gave you, that's fine. This is your mobility time with what feels tight for you. So I got one more roll I'm gonna go through. You do you in whatever order or position you wanna do. I'm gonna start at the top of the quadruped again. I'm gonna tuck my low spine and then roll up to the top. And head up, sink through the top, sink through the pelvis. I'm sweating. I got my window closed up here because I got the dogs outside with music going on the other side of the window, and you wouldn't be able to hear me. And man, sauna, which is helping me stretch. Okay, we're gonna move to our next, we have 2 more stretches before we do calf stretch to finish it off. So back to sitting, okay? I have 2 options here. So I feel like I really was tight this morning, right in kind of that hamstring, tie-in, and glute, and low back. So I like the idea of doing this stretch today because it's pulling in and up. And then as I sit here, I'm gonna add sink in. If this stretch is really difficult for you or you don't feel anything doing it, it's just not been a favorite of yours, then other option is go to figure 4. And then what I would suggest is deepening that stretch by pushing or thinking about pushing that guy to the side, right? I've given you guys other pointers before about doing this against a wall. If that floats your boat, go for it. So figure 4 of some option, but that's what we're taking the time right now to do. So whichever one you want, those, and we're holding it now. And I like to take this one and again, pull that knee up towards me and try to sit tall and into it with my chest. As this loosens, I then start to add a bit of a twist. If sitting up tall like this doesn't work, putting a hand back is what you need to do. That's fine too. Whatever works for you, breathe into it and find that happy medium, that happy position. Again, figure 4 is also an option. I'm just feeling this hot right here. I think that's most sore on me today is my other side in that same spot, because in getting to the ground to try and do a push-up from my squat. I made a really quick transition about the third round in yesterday and like caught my foot, and I'm pretty sure I strained my hip rotator. So of all the things I injured myself on, it wasn't the workout, it was transitioning from standing to the ground, of all things, because that's usually when it happens. So I felt very athletic, let me tell you. And it was just in time for all the other rounds of reps I was doing, because I did mine Cindy style. A little bit longer. This is your chance to deepen it. So either pull it in tighter, sit up straighter, rotate, or I like to put an arm over once my back is feeling it, and I push myself into that rotation. Up to you, but do something to deepen it. If you're doing a figure four, push a little harder on the knee, pull a little harder on the opposite leg, whatever it is you need. Go ahead and switch carefully coming out of it. I like to switch the leg around for a sec so I don't pull it like I did in my transition yesterday, and then I switch sides. So a reminder, if you want to do figure four, you can do that on the side. You might find that one side, like the side for me, I don't get this knee up and over as tight to myself, right? And that's fine. Everybody's a little bit different. As I go through the stretch, I might start to try and bring this leg back further, but for now, this is the biggest angle I got, and that's okay. Sit up tall and try to hold on for this guy. This one, even though we're doing it because it's after Murph, this kind of flow of hitting a little bit of everything, including our neck, our chest, hips flowing through our spine. These ones are actually a really good mobility day to do with almost any CrossFit WOD day that we have, because most Metcons hit a little bit of everything. Even an upper body focus day, something about our lower body was usually used in order to generate power or tension or stability. So today's actually a pretty good one of hitting a little bit of everything without taking too much time on any one part. So this might be one for you to bookmark and use more often. This little bit of a flow, however it is, it fits for you. Go ahead and take this opportunity to try and deepen your stretch, right? So for me on this one, I don't really get the luxury of doing this with it feeling like a stretch because I have to lean back and cheat to do it. This one is where I just try to actually hold it in more to deepen my stretch on this side. Whereas the other side, I started here. Now I'm trying to just hold here without crying. Make sure if you're feeling any like extreme pain versus just general discomfort stretch that you stop or back off a little bit. This shouldn't actually bring you to tears as much as I joke about it. A couple more deep breaths through these ones, guys. Again, if you're able to and you want to, the deepening one of this was through here. Rotating through it, and carefully bring your leg down and out of that position. Woo! Okay, last two moves. The one that is dragon style, I believe, if we're talking positions that you can look up online, or we've called these runner stretches before, sinking down and through, being upright. You also have the option here, if you want to start this way, maybe you want to bring that knee up and grab onto it. Before we've used a band hooked on and brought the leg up. That's going to be more quad if that's what you're feeling. Sinking in through the hip. Again, not arching with the back, but sinking the hip forward, and sinking there is going to be more hip flexor, get some heat in the front leg. Or if you want to get some low back and really in those hips, you have the option, which I'm not very good at it, but coming all the way down, elbows to the ground, forearms to the ground, in what's called, I believe, lizard, all the way to the bottom. So that's an option if you want to look those up for someone watching this later. If you want or need an assistance here, again, like I said, if you want to get more quad, maybe you hold on the leg, or even go up into a wall as a couch stretch if your quads that are feeling those squats today. I'm going to let you guys choose. That's why I picked this one. It's a very versatile stretch based on whatever else you assist with. So sitting upright here, totally fine. That might be might be just enough of discomfort to kind of hit all the marks. Some of you might want to go down that position here. Others, again, if you want to pull that leg up, that's going to get a little bit more quad. I sometimes too start to add in a little bit of a rock and so that I get a little bit of a stretch through the groin on this side. Some of you might even feel the hammies a little if you're doing bench over rows. Maybe you, like Danielle was talking with me about, maybe you want to rock back into that hamstring a little bit. Up to you. Go ahead and switch sides carefully. Be able to see what it looks like on this side. So again, this would be that dragon, if I'm using the right terms at all, but just giving you guys options of things to look up if you're ever wondering what the stretch reference might be. You can always bring that leg out a little bit and sink down, not on this side, but to kind of that lizard style, which is this. Good on the side. Other option is grabbing that leg and getting that quad stretch, or going up in a couch stretch against it. And again, I like to sometimes, if I stay in this upper dragon, I will rock in almost a crescent moon around my ankle so that I get a little bit of stretch through the hip on this side, groin. And then again, if you're feeling your hammies a little, maybe you walk the right leg a little bit. You can pull your toe towards your nose, get a little upper calf. Up to you with what you felt most from yesterday. It's a pretty versatile position. Gonna here for another 10 seconds or so, so sink into it. You could also, if you wanted, we'll throw this out there, you can always reach across your body if you want to get flexible. Up to you. Go ahead and carefully come out of it. Okay, we're gonna hit our last stretch today. It's gonna be based on some calves per special request from Miss Danielle, and with all of you guys having done either, if it was rowing where you're pushing through your feet and your calves, if you were running, if you were doing double unders, if you're doing some sort of cardio, and then on top of that having squats where your feet were gripping hopefully into the ground nice and solid, you're feeling some of this too. So we're going to throw that in. And our option that we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of a calf stretch. You guys are probably familiar with the wall, but we're going to modify it just a little to make it so that you guys are really feeling it through the soleus and then feeling it through the calf, and some of it's through the bottom of the foot. So I'm going to go right over here. So hopefully you guys can see. Maybe I'll move it down. You don't really need to see me as much as my foot. So what we're going to do is I hold on, you know, I have a wall or something I can lean against. And then the first thing I do is I do it closed position where I actually have closed pack position where my foot's fully on the ground, my leg's locked. So in this case, I can bend the knee and straighten it. I can lean with the hip, but what I'm not doing is letting my heel come off the ground. So everyone's going to be a little bit different. I also will rock my knee in and out, and notice my foot is staying fully on the ground. So we're going to rock through that. Hopefully you guys can see it. I know I have a window behind me, but hopefully you can see the calf part of me well enough. So I can lean towards the wall and use my body weight. I can bend the knee towards the wall. That's getting a little more of the soleus, that lower part of the calf. It also gets some of the flexor hallucis longus, things that connect all the way under the toes. On the bottom side, we have a lot more structures than just our quote unquote calf that affect our feet tension. And then again, I kind of will rock back and forth a little, and I'm keeping the foot down. So what that looks like forward, just so you can see, is I'll rock back and forth, but I keep my foot planted on all parts so that it's really rolling through which muscles it's stretching. So keep hanging out. I already feel like I'm getting even further with my knee each time. Okay, let's go ahead and switch sides. So again, hopefully you guys can see these. I'm a little closer here so you can see it. So I do where I'll lean my whole body in. I'll straighten my knee. And then I'll do where I bend the knee, but no matter what, I'm keeping that heel down. And then I'll do some rocking side to side. Scoot back a little too, because you might want to see how my body's arranged. What's all on there? Straight leg, locked leg, pretty locked itself. And then where I'll do bent leg. And I keep
that heel on the ground in both positions and to deepen the stretch. One of them moves my hips forwards, the other moves my knee forward. Because again, where it's connected and what muscles in the calf that's feeling it, one is dependent on how tight I am and where I'm tight, what muscles I tend to overuse. Sure, Danielle's one foot will feel way different than the other, for example. We both got differences on our feet. So play around with which ones you feel. Full length in the leg and a bend in the knee. And then that rotation. Okay, go ahead and relax both. Now what we're gonna do, that'll be a little bit more open, right, is we're going to come up to where we can get a stretch on the foot. So for this one, move it back a little. And for this one, I'll actually take the foot and I'll try to lengthen it, and I won't worry about the foot and heel hitting. Let's see if I put it up a little higher. Can you guys see? Step back a little. So for this one, you've probably done this one before. And again, I'll bend at the knee and I'll try to straighten it, but I won't worry about pushing the heel all the way back. And I'll even rock through it a little. I'll drop the knee towards the ground a little and just hang out here. Now this might feel a little different. I feel more in the medial part, side part of my foot, depending on who you are. And I can lean forward with the hip flexor too, but I feel that more in my hip flexor for this one, but I'm keeping the heel up. So this is just a simple in between, which you should have gotten a decent amount of stretch from the others to where you might not even feel this one that much. And then switch sides. So again, heel stays off the ground this time. You need to step a ways back in order to do that, because I feel pretty flexible after the first couple of stretches where I kept my heel down. And you can pump your heel a little bit if you want, and then I'll bend the knee down. And again, I'm trying to push my heel away, but not touch the ground fully, and drop my knee. I should feel a stretch in my heel, a stretch in my foot, mid-leg. Any of those are acceptable. So I'm not just letting it come up like this. I'm actually still trying to push my heel toward the ground as I sink down. It's just, I'm not letting it succeed. In order to succeed, I have to straighten my leg. Okay, go ahead and relax. So that should have gotten like through the big toe. And then the last one we'll do, you guys are probably all done, is go against the wall. So I'll go up against the wall, and then I'll add and deepen. Now these ones I should feel up higher in the leg. This is that upper part of the calf. And I can bend the knee a little bit too, but we're going more for straight leg on this one. Don't want to pull or strain behind the knee, but you should feel higher up in the calf. And you can relax off of it a little and then deepen it. And then last part, switch sides. So you should feel like you actually got some stretch on a bunch of different parts of your calf and your foot for those different positions, because we use all of those. Last couple. Hanging out here. And then you might even try on your own going back through that calf series where you start with a flat foot after you've done this and see if it's a little easier to get further ahead. So again, that would go back to this one flat-footed and see how much further can your calf get now that you've stretched the foot and the upper calf as well. All right, let's see what time we got here. Hey, we did pretty good. I promised about 30 minutes, so we got it done and in. Danielle and Amy, any questions that you want to share or things you noticed or clarification points for the group, since it's on recording, in case they want to know too, but I won't be there in person to ask them? All of those feel pretty good?
Yep.
Did you guys feel differences in what parts of the abs and feet and toes were being stretched in those different couple calf options?
Yes.
Yeah, did you feel like it hit different parts?
I felt like I noticed the calf more than I did the foot.
Okay.
It was more intense, I guess.
Yeah, and some of that, a lot of times we think when our feet are painful, we think it's our foot, and sometimes it is actually our calf being so tight, and not even just our calf muscles, but ones that are in that lower leg that are stretching and pulling and super tight that are making our foot actually hurt or move in a different way, but it's up in there that feels the most tight. So that's very likely that your calf could be a bigger source of tension. But yeah, just paying attention when you do those types of stretches in the future and play around with the ones where the foot stays flat versus where they come up. If you notice that like sometimes it's your inner lower leg or your outer leg or your toe that feels it more, it might just be a clue to you on what's bugging you most that day. So cool. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to end the recording for everybody. Let's see here.